Oh, hello. Good morning. Welcome to the Early Bird Podcast. Dave Lochran and Jake Hari. When's the last time you've been on this?
I have never, no. So I've been on,
Well, you did it solo for a while before I was even
yeah.
here.
So I used to do this last year solo.
Right.
So it's weird to be doing podcasts at night, but yeah, I did a couple with EMAC when you guys came over last year from FanDuel, and then it was hockey season. So then they kind of stopped as you guys started doing basketball and I started doing hockey.
Okay. So it's been a while, but
Yeah.
nothing's changed except now we're talking baseball. What we do here, if you haven't tuned into the Early Bird before, we keep it simple because we've got the strategy show that is one of our long form shows. We cover every single game. It's a 12-game slate, and we cover them in depth. Then we got the deeper dive, and then we have live before lock. So we've got a ton of shows on the Awesemo_com YouTube channel. This one, preliminary foundational look. We're going to take a look at pitchers by tier, and then we'll give you our top stacks. We're not going to go position by position or anything like that. We'll get you started on about your day and make life a little bit easier. Let's just jump into it, Jake. We've got 12 games and a decent amount of pitching. First of all, how'd you do in the U.S. Open contest?
Oh, really bad. I was actually just checking my scores now to see if anything changed. Did not have a good week. How about yourself?
I was like top 200 in the Millie Maker. Well, no. Listen. After like 1.5 days in, I was way up there. Didn't cash. So yeah, I only threw one entry into it, but I played a bunch of other ones, and I got off to such a strong start with Justin Rose and DeChambeau and a bunch Stenson. Like everyone got off to a hot start. Finau crushed me. But yeah, not a good finish whatsoever. It was a tough one, man.
Yeah, I started off well. I try not to look until like Saturday night, Sunday when I'm playing PGA, just because it changes so drastically.
Oh yeah, no question. Like if you get confident on Thursday or Friday,
you're done.
You're doing it wrong. Yeah, and I'm watching. And I'm like, all right, Finau's done. It'd be cool if I min cashed, but it's probably not going to happen.
Yeah,
and it didn't.
Fun stuff.
Anyway, let's just get into it. Mike Soroka at the top. This dude has been really expensive. His price has actually come down a little bit from where it's been, but he's expensive. And then you have Jose Berrios at home against the Boston Red Sox. You've got Luis Castillo at home against the Houston Astros. I mean, the 10K and up, if we're using DraftKings pricing here, I mean, do you go to any of these guys? Do you pay up for Soroka?
Oh, I don't know. I'm looking at Soroka right now. Like he may be the guy I'd want to go to most, but it's not because I want to be playing really anyone in this tier based on their matchups. Like, I guess Soroka has an okay matchup against the Mets. He's probably going to be a pretty sizable favorite, I would think. Looks like he's minus 152 right now. But it's going to be really hot in Atlanta, 85 plus degrees. And it's not like this Mets team is bad at all versus righties. You look at their numbers for the season, below average strikeout rate, 103 WRC plus, 176 ISO. So it's not like they have too many issues hitting right-handed pitching. But like Castillo has a tough-ish matchup with Houston, although it's a watered-down Houston lineup, as we've been saying. But Jordan Alvarez now in their lineup hitting dingers. So
Stud he is.
Yeah, man. He just hit a monster shot the other day. So they've still got really good pieces in that Houston lineup. They don't strike out.
That was onto the train tracks.
Yeah, right out of the stadium.
Yeah, well, they have the train track.
Oh,
and
yeah, that's right.
The train above went into the train.
It's just ridiculous.
Insanity, yeah. But honestly, like Berrios is good. I don't think he's a 10K pitcher, even in pretty decent matchups. The upside just generally isn't there. He's a very consistent pitcher. He's been markedly better at home for his career. But I just don't see myself getting to him against Boston. If you're doing so, you're just doing it because you want to be super different from everyone else.
Right. That would be the only reason, would be to spend up to be contrarian, I guess. But where's the strikeout upside really in any of these guys?
There.
Yeah.
And Dude, like you said, it's a watered down Houston lineup, but it's still now it depends to me a little bit on what they run out there.
Mhm.
Right. You know, there are times where there are strikeouts in this lineup, but Yordan Alvarez, even if he projects to have a 25% K rate, he is good, and he's going to have the platoon advantage. Bregman, Gurriel, Brantley, none of them strike out. Reddick doesn't strike out, and he bats from the left side. So that's the problem with me. Even if I have some strikeouts, a couple of them towards the bottom of the lineup, Kemp doesn't strike out. Like, how is that going to mitigate the amount of runs allowed? I don't see either of these three guys being super appealing on this slate.
Yeah, I have a hard time finding myself getting to any of these three guys, and I'm not actually sure it's going to get better as we go on as far as paying up for any of these guys.
All right, well, we did the 10K range. Let's do the 9K range. You've got Lance Lynn against Cleveland. All right, that's enticing. Zach Wheeler against Atlanta at 9,200. And then here's the one to me. You said you don't know if it's going to get better. In my opinion, this is where chalk comes in, and I don't even think it'll be close. Kenta Maeda at 9K flat against the San Francisco Giants.
Yeah, wild. So he's the guy that I had my eye on. You look at the Vegas line here, minus 245 at home against this Giants team. He's obviously got a lot of strikeout upside, as we've seen over these past few years. 9K is a good price for a guy, even with average strikeout stuff. But assuming they roll out a somewhat balanced lineup, I'm seeing 4 righties, including the pitching spot right now, in the projected lineup for Kenta Maeda. The only problem, I guess, that I have with Maeda in general is just his pitch count. It's kind of been all over the place. And that's what happens when Dave Roberts is your manager. So last 5 starts, 85, 81, 88, 70, and then 97 pitches. So if you knew he was going to get to 90 plus, I think you just play the chalk here because he looks like the best option in this range by a good margin. But I don't know. Do you think he's going to be able to go deep? Do you have any idea of whether or not he will be able to?
No, none whatsoever, and I don't think any of us do. It's definitely a concern. You're absolutely right. But at the same time, like if Soroka's 10-5 against a decent enough Mets team, at least Maeda isn't what I would consider overpriced.
Right.
You know, it's weird though, because take Ryu, for example. Look at this, 105 pitches, 107, 93, 116, 88, 106, 104, 99, or even Rich Hill has come out with some strong starts where he started, look, 99, 94, 103, 104, 96. That's in a row. So
that's crazy.
Is it just Kenta Maeda? Because Dave Roberts has not been nearly as bad with some of these other ace pitchers this year. Kershaw being another one where, you know, he's a workhorse. He hasn't thrown a ton of 100-pitch games, but 92, 101, 95, 100, 98, 97. You get the point. So why is it that Maeda's pitch count has been so much lower than everyone else? Is it just odd? Is it maybe he's just come up in the hitter spot, you know, and they've been close games? So Roberts has pinch hit for him? I don't know, but it seems weird because he's just as good as any of those guys.
Yeah, I mean, he hasn't gone over 100 pitches since the first start of the season on March 30th. And then after that, he's got 3 starts out of, 10 or 11 starts with 90-plus pitches. So you're capping your upside, I think, a little bit. But he could still get you 7 or 8 strikeouts in 5 innings if he gets pulled at 80 pitches like we've seen a bunch of times. Yeah. And you probably take that for 9K on this slate.
And he's still a very quality strikeout pitcher, which comes into play here. So he could give you 9 strikeouts in 5 innings, and it still benefits you.
Right.
That's always the concern. But would you rather go with a guy in Zach Wheeler who can throw a ton of pitches, but has a much, much tougher matchup against Atlanta, or Lance Lynn against Cleveland, who has been very good this season, but not a lot of strikeouts in this lineup, and they're improving as the days go by? Or would you rather go Maeda in tournaments?
I think I'm out on Lynn. I don't think he's going to project very well over 5 implied total for him in Texas. That is one of the weirder prices I've seen all season for a pitcher. Yeah. Has Lynn been that good? Have I just been missing out on it? Or why is he 9,500?
Dude, look at what his price has been over his last 5 starts. 86, 10-3, 97, 9K.
So he has been
He's been good, and he's been priced up, and he's pitched a lot of games in Arlington. He's been good.
Man, I had not realized how good he has been.
Yeah,
So
Lance Lynn's been very good this year. It's shocking.
I feel like I haven't played on any slates with Lance Lynn because I haven't I feel like I never look at him. So I'm just thinking of Lance Lynn for the past few years, like when he was on the Twins and just horrific.
Oh, it's possible. And
yeah.
I'd be willing to guess that the amount of innings he's thrown this year has to be like top 10 in the entire league.
Oh yeah, he's gone at least 6+ his last 7 starts.
I think he had a complete game in there too, somewhere around there. It was his last 10, I think. But yeah, I'm gonna tell you right now. So the most innings pitched this season for a starter, of course, is probably Scherzer. He's at 99. No, 102 Herman Marquez has thrown the most innings this year. That's interesting.
Wow.
He also has made one additional start than all these guys. Verlander at 100, Scherzer at 99. Lance Lynn is – okay, he's top 20. But still, that's pretty good for Lance Lynn.
Yeah, for sure. For a guy that we thought might be cooked for his career.
Yeah.
Nice little resurgence here. So my apologies to Lance Lynn. Maybe not that bad of a price, but it's still not a great matchup if you're getting a bunch of lefties here for Cleveland with the huge implied total. I'm
with you. I don't think Wheeler's a crazy idea just because he's a workhorse and he can pitch super deep into these games. Look, when you talk about a guy that can go 7 innings almost every start, it doesn't get much better than Zach Wheeler. And if that's the case, if Maeda's going to be super chalky, I'm not opposed to considering Wheeler and understanding it's a bad matchup, just hoping that he can go deep into it.
So like on DraftKings, if you had to guess right now, first ownership update tomorrow morning or this morning for people that are listening on Monday morning, what would you put Maeda at compared to Wheeler?
So it's tough because I haven't looked at the other pitchers down at the bottom. Let me answer that question once we get through all the pitching.
Sounds good.
All right. Then we get into the 8K range. You got Yanni Chirinos against the Yankees. So even a lot of the good pitchers have garbage matchups. Mike Clevenger, who is legitimately good and was dominant in his first 2 starts before the back injury, went 12 scoreless with 22 strikeouts in his first 2 games. He's back facing the Rangers in Texas at 8,700. Joey Lucchese's got a home matchup with the Milwaukee Brewers at 86. And then you have Wade Miley against Cincinnati. Patrick Corbin is all the way down at 82 against Philly. And it's possible that Real Muto could be out again after he got hit in the nuts. So that could play into it. And then finally, Masahiro Tanaka against a pretty good Tampa Bay team.
Yeah, this is a pretty tricky tier. The one guy that does stick out to me is Corbin, just a guy that has crazy strikeout upside. It may not be a perfect matchup against Philadelphia, but he's still got the swings and misses in him. And you can surrender a few runs here at 8,200. So I just think he's a guy that's overpriced based on price per expected strikeout over the long term. And if Real Muto's out, even better. It obviously makes a huge difference. One of the better hitting catchers in all of the MLB. Clevenger, is he stretched out at all? That was the one thing that I wanted to see. He pitched, 67 pitches on June 11th. So that will put him at 5 full days of rest. So I guess
AAA?
It was at AA. He made a AAA start first through 58 pitches, then went to AA and threw 67.
So what do you put him at, 85?
I think, 80, 85, somewhere in there. Man, I don't know if 8,700 here for Clevenger. He's one that if no one's playing him and everyone's playing Maeda in this range, maybe you go to Clevenger, allocate some shares there if you're multi-entering, but he wouldn't be a guy I would get to with limited lineups, I don't think, here, coming off an injury.
Yeah, and you have Corbin. You mentioned Maeda, but you also have Corbin at 82, who you also had talked about.
Yeah, so I think I'd rather go to Corbin. He's not going to be limited on pitches, possibly a little bit of a boost in expected strikeouts if Real Muto is out. So, yeah, this range is pretty tough. I haven't really been targeting Tampa all that often this season. And Tanaka hasn't been super impressive to me. I don't know about you. Are you considering him at 8,200?
No, not even remotely, actually. And I want to like Masahiro Tanaka because he should be better than he's been. But he hasn't been good. And Tampa Bay is still a good baseball team. You've got plenty of lefties. You've got plenty of good players. You got a rough park for right-handed pitchers at Yankee Stadium. Just nothing about Tanaka stands out to me here. And it's nice to see, sure, that he got 7 Ks in that last game against the Mets. But like, I'd rather just go with a higher ceiling and play a similarly priced Patrick Corbin.
Yeah, I think I'm right there with you. He's getting the inning. At least he's eating up some innings. Like he's going 6+ every time, but he's allowing runs. You're not seeing the gaudy strikeout numbers that we've seen in the past. Just not missing as many bats as you'd like for Tanaka. And it is a really scary matchup, as you mentioned, against Tampa.
Yeah, I'm not huge on it whatsoever, actually. I'd rather just go with Corbin, not because I think he's been great recently or because I think it's a perfect matchup, but just because if one of these guys is going to strike out 12 batters, I'd rather take my chances on Patrick Corbin. That's all.
Yeah, I think I would as well. I like that call.
We don't have implied run totals for this game yet. I was gonna look them up. The lowest on the slate right now is the Giants at 3.3. No surprise to anyone.
Yeah, lower than the Marlins, looks like.
Wow. All right. Well, that's the 8K range. We're just going to go all the way on down here because it's a lot of pitching. In the 7K, Mike Fiers against Baltimore. He's not that cheap, though. He's 7,700. Danny Duffy against Seattle, high strikeout team, boom or bust. They hit a lot of power, hit for a lot of power with a lot of home runs, but they also strike out a ton. Arrieta against Washington at 73. Porcello against Minnesota at 7K. Do you even bother going to Mike Fiers here?
He was the one I was looking at. Man, he's just not missing bats at all. So I was just talking about Tanaka, like sub 8% swinging strike rate, below average chase rate. And he's getting first pitch strikes, so he doesn't really have an excuse as far as not putting hitters away. I thought I'd be playing him more often when he's pitching in Oakland just because it's a good pitcher's park. And maybe you could make the case for him here, but I don't think he's going to grade out as one of my better values once I start looking at projections and stuff.
I feel like Fiers should be 6,500 or 6,800.
All these guys in this range that we're going to talk about seem like $600 to $800 more expensive than they should be.
Yeah, I agree with that entirely. I'm not really interested in any of them. Is there anyone here you like?
Duffy, just because Seattle strikes out. Yeah, just because Seattle strikes out so much versus lefties. They traded Encarnacion, by the way. That was
that's pretty big. That's significant.
I didn't see what they got back from him. I just saw last night that they traded him. But yeah, that's obviously one of their better hitters. That's not going to make him any better against lefties.
Yeah, and Mitch Haniger with the ruptured testicle is still on the IL too.
Yeah, rough.
Brutal injury.
So like they're throwing out guys like Mac Williamson and D. Gordon, lefty.
Yeah.
Tim Beckham, who strikes out a bunch. So
Brian Healy's still out too, and he hits for some.
Yeah. They're missing all their guys, man.
Yeah, no question. You no longer have Jay Bruce. You no longer have E5. You're right. This is going to be a lot watered down throughout the rest of the season. I think if I'm going to anyone in this range, I agree with you. It would be Duffy. It doesn't mean I'm super high on him because his K rate against righties is atrocious, and his ability to miss right-handed bats in general. But if there's anyone that's going to have a big game here, I think I would place my bets on it being Duffy.
Yeah. And looks like there could be up to 4 lefties in the lineup here for Seattle. If it's Smith.
If that's the case, that would change a lot, I think.
Smith, Vogelbach, Seager, D. Gordon at the bottom, it looks like.
Okay. 6K, Ulyss Chassin coming off the IL. He's got the Padres in San Diego. Tommy Malone, expected long reliever here against the Royals. Felix Pena against Toronto. I can get down with that. We'll talk, but I could play Felix Pena there. He's very good against righties, but and I think you'll see a decent amount of right-handed bats in this lineup. Miles Michaelis and Andrew Kashner against Oakland. Any interest here in the 6K range?
Yeah, Pena. I definitely agree with you on that one. So you're probably going to see a bunch of righties in here for Toronto, more righties than lefties. If they roll out their normal lineup, Pena, it seems like people have caught more on to playing these long relievers, but people don't think about, and I haven't really thought about that much until I talked with Alex Osimo about it. They have a better chance of getting the win because they can still go 4 innings and get a win.
Talk about that all the time. They could go 3 innings and get the win, which is a beautiful thing. It's still risky, but
for sure.
And also, I don't know, is he going to be a starter? Because right now we have him listed as an actual probable starter.
I'm seeing Luis Garcia as the opener.
Okay. Okay, fair enough.
But either way, as long as Pena's going to pitch here for 6,700, I really like that against Toronto. And I think just looking at Toronto's prices here, 4,300 for Gurriel, 4K for Vlad Guerrero Jr., and then everyone else is below 4K. So I think they're going to be a chalky stack that people are going to go to as a value play. And so you might be getting some extra leverage by using Pena there.
Yeah, that could be the case for sure. There's always the concern, can he throw enough pitches? Is he going to be in there for more than 3 innings? But I'd rather run the risk on him over Tommy Milone or Chessin or Miles Michaelis. Although we do – well, you know what? We do have Michaelis against Miami at Busch Stadium. It went so well for him last time.
Did he get lit up against them?
Oh, yeah. I'm joking. They trashed him.
Okay.
But we still have to talk about it because it's still the Marlins and it's still a righty and he's still going to face probably 8 right-handed hitters, which is obviously puts him at least in the conversation.
Yeah, I think he has to be in the conversation. He's going to be up there with Maeda as one of the chalkier options.
I agree. People love picking on Miami.
Yeah. Michaelis against righties, I mean, still, man, he's under 19% K rate.
Oh, it's garbage, man. It's really bad. I know. It's not good. Like, even the K rate against – yeah, it's bad.
Like, his median start here, I think more often than not is okay. Like, I think he gets you somewhere in the, 13 to 16 DK points more often than not. But there's probably going to be a guy in this range that goes off for 20-plus and at lower ownership. So that's my only issue early on here with Michaelis. There's also some weather concerns. So, of course, we'll keep an eye on that on our various pieces of content coming out throughout the day. But, yeah, it looks like a good spot. It's a guy who he doesn't allow a lot of power or anything to righties, and it's the Marlins. They're obviously not a good team. So I understand it, but I'm probably going to try to go elsewhere just because I don't think he kills me too often in the spot, even though it is the Marlins.
Yeah, the Cardinals are like 205 money line favorites too. They have a 5.1 implied run total. 207 money line favorites. Miami's at 3.5. If that tells me anything, it's just that Miles Michaelis is going to be pretty popular. Yeah.
I mean, I played Michael Wacha against the Marlins, and I can't stand Wacha. I think Michaelis is a better pitcher, but yeah, if he's going to be 30+% chalk, which I think there's a decent chance that happens, I'll probably try to be going elsewhere, at least getting underweight on him.
You also have Alicio Hernandez, who apparently learned how to strike batters out in the minor leagues and then applied that to his last start against St. Louis, where he struck out 7 across 5 2/3. Like, I honestly don't think 5,900 is crazy against what will likely be 6 or so right-handed hitters. Granted, it's at Busch Stadium and not Marlins Park, but again, it sometimes if a pitcher's cheap enough, and my guess is that he'll be pretty unpopular, to me it's not much crazier than Miles Michaelis, even though the matchup isn't as great.
No, I like that call. I mean, if you can miss bats for under 6K and you're stretched out, even if it's not a great matchup here and it's a high implied total against him, over 5 runs, but at low ownership or expected low ownership here for Hernandez, I like that call as a guy that I think I'm going to be overweight on, assuming this weather is okay to play in.
Yeah, barring any bad weather, he would be in play big time for me. Because then you've got Tyler Beatty, Edwin Jackson, and Bautista opening. So you had nothing there. I mean, let's do this before we get to our stacks and head out. If I asked you, okay, Jake, you're putting one lineup in, you're putting it in right now. You need to select your SP1 and your SP2. You have 1 minute to do it. Who is it going to be? Who would they be?
I think I like going Corbin and Maeda, or going Corbin and like Pena or Hernandez, like we talked about. So probably right now, I think I would go Corbin and Pena. What about you?
Yeah, I'm thinking probably if it's cash, I'm playing Maeda.
Sure.
And in cash, I'd probably just pair him with Michaelis and hope that he isn't going to be terrible.
Okay.
But if we're talking about like single entry tournaments, give me Alicia Hernandez and Corbin, Alicia Hernandez and Wheeler. I think those are two spots that you can get away from the field. Now, I'm not saying you have to, but I get the impression that even on a 12-game slate, you might see ownership concentrated pretty heavily onto a couple of pitchers.
I agree. And you're probably right more. I think you're going to be able to pay up more for pitching on this slate, because I'm not seeing – like there's no Coors on the slate.
The highest run total right now is what, 5.4?
Yeah, and the prices reflect that too. So even the 5.4 implied total in Oakland and in Cleveland, it looks like on DraftKings at least, they're going to be pretty affordable. So you might even see some more chalk than I expected on guys like Maeda, and more ownership on guys in this top tier and less on the Elisa Hernandez type guys.
Yeah, I agree with that. Do we have a total for the Angels yet though? My guess is it's
against Edwin Jackson. There's no total yet.
What?
No total yet. I would guess.
Yeah, I have a feeling that might exceed 5.4.
Yeah, he's been as bad as you would imagine.
But you're right though. Like there aren't that. You have a few that are. By the way, the Braves have a 5-run total against Wheeler.
Braves
That's
are so tough, man.
I know, that's crazy. And then St. Louis 5-1 against Hernandez, 5-3 against Beatty for the Dodgers, 5-4 for Oakland against Cashner, and then 5-4 for Cleveland against Texas. The public still doesn't have much faith in Lance Lynn, it seems. But no teams are just, like you said, nothing crazy, nothing outrageous. Although I wouldn't be surprised if the Angels have a 6-run total here.
Yeah, you're probably right on that. I think it's going to be closer to 6 than 5.
Yeah, no doubt. No doubt about it. That Edwin Jackson, man, that's a tough one. And
yeah.
I know last start he actually wasn't bad, but that's Baltimore. The Angels' offense has been really good this year, man, from top to bottom. So I'm buying into that. That's a perfect segue into our stacks before we get out of here. I really do like the Angels. I'm not telling anybody anything they don't already know, but I'll throw the Angels out there. What are your stacks you like for this slate?
Yeah, I like the Nationals, and you and Adam have kind of talked about Arrieta, how bad he's been versus lefties.
Yeah.
So looking at Soto and Adams, and then Eaton up there, I know he's not a huge power hitter, but then like your secondary pieces are the expensive guys, and Turner and Rendon. Turner, obviously a bunch of speed, really a fun play to play in a stack for DFS. And so I like those top 5 for the Nats. That one also has some weather concerns. No run total out on that game. But going up against Arrieta, you mentioned the Angels. Obviously like that call. The Dodgers against Tyler Beatty, I think needs to be talked about a little bit. Just a guy that can't really miss too many bats. I don't think a very good pitcher, and the Twins are kind of the same thing. Porcello, a more respectable pitcher than Tyler Beatty, but I think we're going to see a pretty good total for the Twins when that comes out. Good weather in Minnesota, and a guy that I love taking hitters against, and Rick Porcello, although he has been a little bit better this season, if I recall.
Yeah, I'd absolutely be on board with that. Dodgers against Beatty. And I will say St. Louis against Hernandez. While I think I'll have some Alicia Hernandez, I'm really not opposed to getting some Cardinal bats, because while Hernandez has looked better at the minor league level, and while that first start he had was solid, I'm not necessarily 100% bought in. Like, there's still a lot that we need to figure out about this guy
For sure.
before we know where he's at.
Did you have massive control issues or something like that? Was this another guy I'm thinking of that, like, he fixed strikeout stuff but doesn't know where the ball's going?
No, no. That was Darwinson Hernandez.
Oh, that's right. That's the other Hernandez.
Struck out the side. His first inning at the major league level, he struck out the side on 8 pitches. I'm sorry. On what was it? 3, 4, and 4.
So
11. On what's up?
11 pitches.
Yeah, on 11 pitches. 8 would be difficult, and
that would be pretty tough.
Yeah, and then he comes up next inning, strikeout, Elvis Andrus, and then walk, double, walk. Like, it was the wildest thing you'll ever see, man. And he throws so hard. His delivery is like viciously hard and just like all over the place. But yeah, I don't think we'll see much of him going forward, at least not yet. Did you mention Seattle? Where are you at on Seattle against Tommy Milone? Who, you want to talk about somebody that actually has not looked bad? Or I'm sorry, did I say Seattle against Tommy Milone?
KC, you mean?
Kansas City against Tommy Milone. Dude, he has not been bad at all. He struck out a batter per inning thus far, and he's gone. Like, he has not looked bad. He hasn't been great, but he hasn't looked bad either, and he hasn't had one blow-up start in 5 appearances this season. Like, which side of this, if you had to take one, would it be?
That's a good question, because we kind of skipped over him. I think I'd be more likely to take Royals bats against him. Like, have you watched him pitch at all?
Not this year. I mean, I watched him pitch before, absolutely, but not this year.
Well, it's kind of the same thing as in years past. It's like, how are these guys not just teeing off on this guy every time he goes out? He's one of those guys.
You know, it's weird, though. He has his swinging strike rate last year was 10.8, which is way up from his career average. And he threw like 26 innings with the Nats. Actually, 26.1 with the Nats. He's thrown 26.1 with the Mariners this year, and he's got a 10.1% swinging strike rate. So, for whatever it's worth, he is missing more bats.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying that that's the end all be all. Of course not. But he is missing more bats than he ever has before.
Yeah, and he's actually done a pretty good job limiting runs. Hasn't given up more than 3 so far. But, yeah, I don't understand how he's really doing it outside of just decent control. I don't know. It would depend on if he's going to be owned at all. What'd you say his price was?
6,900.
Yeah. I wonder if he gets any traction, just because we might see a low total in Seattle here for the Royals. But I think I'm more on Royals bats, like guys like Soler, Mondesi, and Merrifield especially.
Yeah, I don't disagree. His fastball's sitting 87.
Yeah.
Like that's not encouraging. Just looking at his pitch usage, though, he's throwing the changeup 37% of the time. The slider 17%, four-seamer 17% or 39% as well. And the changeup is getting about 14% whiffs. The slider 11% whiff, so not elite, but I guess he's missing some bats with both of them. Yeah, I'm probably with you. Would I be surprised if Milone had a decent start? Probably not, but I also wouldn't be surprised to see him get blown up here either.
Yeah, I think it's going to come for him at some point. Like, you just can't be throwing sub 90-mile-per-hour fastballs. I mean, unless you're
Jason Vargas.
Yeah, Jason Vargas, Chris Randone's guy.
Yeah.
So I don't know. We'll see. I don't think I'm going to be playing too much of Milone, but might get to some KC bats here.
All right, that'll do it. Anything else you want to add before we head out for the morning?
No, I think that's it. It looks like a pretty fun slate. Big contests across the board, it's looking like, too.
No question. Hey, by the way, use the promo code EARLYBIRD, all one word. You sign up at awesomemode.com for an Awesome Plus membership. You get 50% off your first month subscription by using the promo code EARLYBIRD, all one word, and we'll get you hooked up. Say what's up to us in Slack chat when you do. We'll be happy to show you around the player projections, the ownership projections, the same one Alex Baker, Awesemo himself, uses. So much more. The Fantasy Cruncher add-on, lineup builder, articles from all of us that do the shows, put a lot of time into them. Check it out for yourself. Use the promo code EARLYBIRD, and we'll see you there when you decide to sign up. And if not, we'll see you back here tomorrow on the Early Bird Podcast.